Good morning, beautiful people. Here we are back again doing an art. We're at a lovely park, a new park this time, on the Gold Coast. And this is Pathways to Contentment number 6. Just got to try and get warmed up because it's been a while. Just so nice to be out in these places. I'm really starting to do it late because it's just such a nice place to be, as well as in all the rest of it. I'm really going to start getting into it, I think, because of those reasons. I can't believe I wasn't doing it sooner. And I'm going to be chasing different parks this Easter. I'm going to go and try and hit some national parks in northern New South Wales, so that'll be good. Right, so got a little bit of Bon Scott action happening at the moment. It's back far enough that it won't be too funny, because to get it replaced, to get a new one put in there, you're looking at $5,000, he said, or $2,000 to do a crown. But they reckon crowns are toxic, so can be toxic. So I think I'll go with a replacement. And I might get that done in Southeast Asia. So the presumed saving on that will be, we'll pay for the holiday, but that won't be for a little while, possibly next year. At the moment, I'm going through the healing process with this. It hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad as the damn toothache I had, which was going straight into the nerve canal and couldn't be fixed. The tooth had to be pulled, apparently. He sort of told me all that on the spot, which just seemed a bit strange, but anyway, that's the way we've gone. Okay, I'll grab the little list. I've picked the top points of, notes that I've put in my voice recorder. I've gone through and picked the top ones out, and then put them on a list to talk about today. And the first one is, and I was going to say too, I don't necessarily feel like doing these vlogs. It's not something I'm sitting around trying to do and can't wait to do. It's not really like that. I sort of have to force myself to do it. But then when I do start the process, taking down the notes and say that I'm going to do it, I get quite excited. So I think that's a good frame of mind to be in when you're doing this sort of thing. It's just something I thought about mentioning in the video. Okay, so the first point, Pathways to Contentment. The whole point of this is, as I've said earlier, the whole point of these series is to just introduce some ideas to anybody that might be struggling at the moment, or struggling in general. I mean, we all struggle, but some of us more than others. And, it's just good to get some information or some perspective from others. That's why books are good. I'm starting to read books on, I suppose you'd call them philosophical books. I tend to be drawn towards that sort of stuff, which I guess is ultimately wisdom, isn't it? Philosophy, I'm realizing or learning, is, just another form of wisdom from other people's perspectives, other people's lives. Famous quotes condensed into somebody's life condensed into one quote often, or sometimes. I mean, that's quite amazing when you think about it. So it's been interesting reading. Okay, so the first point in this episode is and a really important one. Maybe that's why I've got it top of the list. I don't really have these in order as usual, but subconsciously I think I tend to put them in some sort of order. The first point is, let others express themselves, regardless of their age. Individuality, so long as it's healthy and non-hateful, is an important, it's an important dimension of human existence, isn't it? And so often, or too often, we don't let others do that. Think about all the examples yourself where we are trying to inhibit the expressive thoughts and actions of others, whether it be political views. There's a big one. Americans at the moment seem to be so anti each other simply because of the leader of their country. It's quite dramatical, really. It's like watching a mini-series, and I've got to be careful not to get too caught up in it, too sucked into it, because I'm not even American. But it's like watching an ongoing mini-series. But it's important to keep it positive and good. You don't ever want to get it to be hateful and try and inhibit other people's expression. Politics or anything else, so long as it's healthy and non-hateful. That's the two big ones, because often it can become hateful and unhealthy. And when things become unhealthy and hateful, you're in trouble, or you're putting yourself in trouble if you're starting to develop unhealthy, hateful thoughts simply because another person's expressing themselves, whether it be politics or whether it be music or whether it be just thoughts about anything. I just find it a bit of a common thing these days where we aren't allowing others to truly express themselves. And, what do you call that? People would call that fascism, wouldn't they? Or a form of fascism or socialism. I'm not quite sure the distinctions on those two. But I don't know which path to take. There's a few here. So, yeah, that's the point there. We've got to let others, for our own happiness, it's important to let others express themselves. And ultimately, why do we need to do that? Because if we don't, we are trying to inhibit the actions and thoughts of another person. And that's hateful within itself, isn't it? And if it's hateful, it's unhealthy to us. Disregarding the situation you're putting them in, really, we're only really hurting ourselves. We're being unhealthy and hateful within ourselves simply because of somebody else's political view or view on other things, Individuality, so long as it's healthy and non-hateful, is a wonderful thing, and we should be embracing that from each other. Okay, next point. Alright, next point, closely related to the first one, but I've worded it different, as per usual, but I think it's important to make the distinction. Second point is, don't deny another their feelings and emotions. I find that happens with me a bit, whether it be a partner or a family member or a friend. I mean, when you think about it, strangers are usually the only ones that will allow us our raw emotions on the day, on the spot. Try pulling some of that stuff. Try pulling some emotional stuff, especially as a male in my culture. Try pulling some of your emotional stuff to your partner or your mother or your father or your friends, and see how you go. I think you'll find, here's an interesting, that's a massive ant in real life. That is massive. Never seen an ant like that before. Come here, love. Try pulling some of that emotional stuff in front of people you know. For example, that Neil Sedaka video or tribute I did about him where I was crying. I felt that I could express how I felt on Facebook to, not that, you know, my Facebook friends, you guys are strangers, but sort of in a way we are, aren't we? So I suppose I felt comfortable doing that to, you know, strangers. And why is that? And my common sense tells me that's not healthy, that I only feel comfortable or able to express myself to relative strangers. You know, that's not good, is it? And why can't I? I mean, I could, but I couldn't fully. And I wouldn't be allowed to finish, probably. That's another point that's coming up. Letting each other finish what we're saying, how we're expressing things. It's really important, especially to us men, I suppose. Maybe this one's targeted more at the men or males in my society. You know, we're not really encouraged to express ourselves, whether it be sadness or artistic endeavours or just expressing ourselves, especially, you know, tears and emotions. We're sort of, aren't we encouraged to keep that tied up to ourselves? Yet with women, it's a free-for-all. and aren't we attracted to that aspect or part of women, their emotions? As men, we're attracted to the emotions to a certain extent, or to a large extent. We're attracted to the emotions that women feel, you know, free to express. And as men, we're bottling ours up because we've been encouraged to, not trained, but encouraged to, or influenced to, or influenced to keep to ourselves. And I can understand why. Nobody wants men getting around crying all the time, etc. I suppose that it'd make for a weak, you know, society, or at least a feeling of insecurity in society if all the men were getting around crying all the time. But, you know, I think as men, well, that's a nice little house. Looks like a bird over at the back there. She's not supposed to be here, but she's only a little dog, who cares? But I think it's up to us as individual men to just find that happy medium with our emotions. And that's what I'm trying to do these days, hence that Neil Sedaka video. I mean, it's how I felt at the time. I sent that video to a friend, and then I thought, you know what, why don't I just send it to my friends on Facebook? I mean, it's some substance, isn't it? It's something, and it's also in. So I did it, and I mean, I want to do more of that without annoying anybody too much. I'm trying not to, when I flip this video screen, I'm trying not to block out my words like I've done in the past. So yeah, you know, don't deny another their feelings and their emotions. Too many of us are doing it. Oh, there goes a kangaroo. Too many of us are doing it to each other, and that's wrong. That's wrong. It's unproductive, it's hurtful, and it leads to nowhere if we're encouraging inhibition in our fellow man and woman. That's a lovely place to live, shit. It's a really nice home too, wow, and they're right on this beautiful park. You can have a look on the map to see where they are. How cool. All right, so just trying to think if I can elaborate on that. I mean, any point that I bring up, it's really an anchor or a direction for the listener to elaborate on themselves, really. So I don't know if I can say any more about that, but other than self-expression and sharing our feelings with others and being allowed to share our feelings with others is important for both parties to try and pick up on. Meaning it's important for the listener to listen and understand and let that person share what they're going through, And as the party airing their feelings, do it. Try and do it more fully. Get that release to another, that release of your emotions. Again, so long as it's not unhealthy and hateful. If you're sitting there listening to somebody that's trying to pass on hateful, unhealthy emotions and thoughts and words, get out of there. But if it's not, if it's just pure human emotion, then, it should be encouraged, especially with men in our society. I think if we encourage men, males, even young men, boys, and don't even let the boys develop these bottled up feelings, I think as a culture, if we encourage more emotion and expression from our men, I think we're going to ultimately have a healthier culture moving forward. And I'm trying to lead by example, if that's how you want to put it, or how I want to put it. I'm sick of keeping myself bottled up and my expressions to myself. And Facebook's a good way for me to air my expressions, isn't it? And my feelings. Here's a classic example, these videos. Whether people listen to them or not, I'm able to express myself publicly. And I post these to YouTube as well. And it's just, for me personally, a great outlet for me to express myself. Self-expression, and ideally having somebody else, at least one other person, listen and fully listen, is an important human dynamic. It's really important for our mental health. And I think it's lacking in my society. I can't speak for other societies, but it's lacking in mine. It's lacking in even my inner circles. What are we going to get drunk to have somebody to listen to us? Maybe it's just my circles too, I don't know. Maybe other people's circles other people's circles would be much healthier. And other people's circles would be less healthier. Anyway, on to the next point. Next point, I've lost my dog. She usually comes when she's called, but she's gotten carried away with the kangaroos. I'll have to put her on the lead now. Okay, next point. We should be daily pursuing good. We should be daily pursuing good. Or daily pursuing the good. Daily pursuing fairness, right, and improvement in ourselves. These thoughts and actions are going to bring contentment. Here she is. This mental approach, daily mental approach, plan or subconscious thinking of pursuing the good, fairness, right, and improvement, the right in life, the good in life. This mental attitude, daily mental attitude, is going to bring contentment. And it's going to bring a point to the day, a good, healthy point to the day. Not just wandering through the day trying to make it to the end, but starting the day with an attitude of the good in people, in the day, the good in everything, the fairness in everything, the right in everything. And we all know right from wrong, usually in most circumstances. We know we shouldn't steal. We know we shouldn't lie. We know we shouldn't hate. We know we shouldn't, whatever. And we should be always trying to improve ourselves. Me doing these vlogs, I guess, is an example of me trying to improve myself and others, passing on goodness. Just trying to think if I can elaborate on that. I think that's up to the individual to elaborate on that. I mean, it's a pathway to contentment, that point. And then it's up to us to elaborate on it more. I've probably got some thoughts on it, but they're just not coming to me at the moment. So I'll go on to the next one. I'll tell you what, one that just came to me is try and seek out walking through bushland or parks. Often, regularly, at least once a week, twice a week. The more you do it, the more you'll actually want to do it, especially if you've got a dog, because the dog really makes it lively and engaging. You see their happiness and excitement. She's so keen to get out there amongst it, Anyway, the next pathway is respect. Getting respect from others. It's not a big deal. It's a simple human right that we must be conscious of. In my culture, I don't think we are even conscious of it. And it creates a lot of confusion and heartache and heartbreak and problems in our society, simply because as a society, we're not really educated on the issue of respecting each other. It's never really been mentioned in my life. At home, socially, at school, anywhere. There's just an expectation of it, obviously, in certain places. But I think if it was educated more and brought to our awareness more as we're growing up, it'd be so much more beneficial to society when we become adults. We'd have a society with a lot more people being aware of the simple concept of respecting each other. And I know we do, but so often we don't. It's a cloudy area, like I say, and I think it's because it's not really spoken about. It's not singled out. It's not pointed out as an actual concept. In my culture, anyway, it's not. But I suspect in Southeast Asia it is, and that's another point I'm going to bring up soon in this episode. Is that? But anyway, the point to that is respecting each other. And we really should be respecting ourselves too, but that's another point that I'll talk about in another pathway. But we should be respecting each other, and we shouldn't tolerate disrespect. It's a big one. Don't tolerate disrespect from other people. And as we get older, as I'm getting older, I'm able to identify it pretty early whether this person respects me or not. And if I feel, even if I suspect they don't, or they're not going to, or they don't, I'm wiping them like a dirty bum, as a good mate of mine would say, because they're a liability, and that relationship is going to go nowhere if... Jesus, I've just walked through a spider's web. That relationship is going to go nowhere. The spider's on the phone. Oh, he's dropping off onto the grass. Okay, there you go. He's under the gum leaf. So respect's a big one. We need to get it from those around us. But just as important, if not more important, is we need to be giving it. And giving respect, especially when you've had a lifetime of not really even being aware of the concept fully, it's hard to get into the habit of doing. But again, like the previous point, if we on a daily basis are trying to improve the goodness, the fairness, the right in our day, well, respect and showing respect to others is in there. And it goes back to simple techniques of showing respect to others is, like I did in another episode, an easy way to show your respect to others is to use your manners. Bring your manners in and get rid of your swearing. Those two simple things are going to convey respect to that stranger you're encountering something from, whether it be buying a newspaper or whatever it is. I think this path's run out. Go up here and have a closer look. So that's a simple way to get straight into it, is start using your manners more and your considerations more. Consideration is another way to respect people. Classic example, I went to see somebody in hospital, an old friend, and I took her some chocolates. I got her some chocolates and some other things. And I went there and look at this. Here we are on the park and here's somebody's home. Isn't that nice? I don't think we can go any further that way. Come on, love. She's now on the lead. So anyway, I took her some chocolates and some other stuff. Now, this was a new environment to me, but even if it wasn't a new environment, that's not the point. It was a hospital and, an external building to a hospital. And I said, hey, do you want me to open the chocolates? Do you want one? She said, yeah. And as I'm doing that, I thought, well, what would be nice is if I was to offer, or if we were to offer a chocolate to everybody that was in the general area. There's only about 7 or 8 people. There was plenty of chocolates to go around. And I asked her, I said, hey, do you mind if I offer a chocolate to everybody here? Because everybody seemed in a bit of a, it was a boring situation. And it just would have been a nice thing to do, a respectful, courteous thing to do. And she was okay with that. So I got the permission off the nurse, the head nurse. She said that's fine. So I offered her one, and then I went around offering everybody a chocolate. And I tell you what, it made me feel great. It obviously made them feel great, made them feel respected, made them feel heard. It made them feel, like they mattered, just with the simple act of somebody offering them a chocolate. And you know what? I think I've learnt this by watching other people do things in my life, and now at my age it's starting to dawn on me. And often things like this, it's been women doing things like this, I think. And that goes back to another one of my videos where I, point out how we as men can learn so much from women if we only open up our minds to it. And obviously we do learn from women subconsciously or consciously, but I'm talking about consciously learning and taking feathers out of their cap as to ways, in regards to ways to improve our own daily life. And I think this was a classic example. That's something a woman would do. Really, in my circles anyway. It was a wonderful thing to do, and I'm so proud of myself that I thought of it, It was only as I was, opening the chocolates for her, the box for her. What a wonderful thing. I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Respect and courtesy, so they're connected. They're really connected. And I'll just try and reiterate that respect from others is so important. If you're not getting it, you need to disconnect, disengage from that person. Because I think, if you felt you could try and point it out to them, the lack of respect, if you felt you could point it out to them and they would listen, do that. Give them the benefit of the doubt if the relationship matters to you. But if the relationship doesn't really matter anyway, disengage. Don't build on that relationship. Don't go any further with it. Avoid it. And go about your business. And your business should be respecting other people that you encounter. Especially those people in our immediate lives, our family, our friends. as well as people external to that, you know. Just make it a habit everywhere you go, without going over the top, of course, but just everywhere you go, you're showing respect and courtesy to others. It's for me, it's an ongoing habit I'm trying to create, because I haven't been really big with it in my life. And the concept has only dawned on me in the last few years, to be honest. You know, consciously at least. And I just find I'm having wonderful results from simply thinking of others and doing for others out of respect and courtesy, and doing it in a genuine way. Trying to think if I can elaborate on that. At the moment I can't. I mean, there's many examples. You know, you come up with some examples in your daily life. Remember, these videos are all about creating contentment in our own life. And to my mind, if I know that the people I'm encountering in my private life, of course, and the people I'm encountering external to that, if I know that they're all satisfied with me and happy with the way I've spoken to them and treated them and considered them, that's going to give me automatic contentment in my life, one would assume. You know what I mean? It's certainly going to help give me a sense of satisfaction that the people I've encountered today have been left with a non-pleasant... Oh dear, I've got to take the dog to the clippers in an hour. Okay. I've got to try now make a mental note for that. The alarm was going off. Forgot what I was saying. Yeah, if the people that I have encountered today and every other day don't have any bad thoughts about me that I said or did the wrong thing, well, that's going to go a long way into creating a happy day for me, isn't it? And a happy life. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, year by year. Respecting others and showing courtesy to others wherever we can, without going over the top. All right, so that's that one, and it's a massive one. Maybe I should have put it at the beginning of the list. And the concept of respect and courtesy really should be taught in the schools, because often it's not being taught at home. It's not. I mean, it is through actions at home, but it's not being talked about. It's not being worded into a concept and passed on. And you know, often if that's not happening, well, you know, a lot of us don't pick up on it, and it's, you know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, that's that one. On to the next point. Next point is, do we truly listen to others? We learn if we do, and we make them feel heard and that they matter. That's really related, I suppose, to the first couple, but it's still different. It's still got its own dimension. And my answer to that pathway is no, we don't. We don't truly listen to each other. I'm often more interested or concentrating on what I'm going to say in the conversation. And when you think about it, that's immature. That's something a child would do. You know what I mean? We as adults, I suppose, how often do we find ourselves just listening to kids ramble on? Because the child is only thinking about what they're going to say, often. Anyway, as adults, we need to listen to each other more. Like I read in a book recently, we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's because we need to listen twice as much as we need to talk. And when you think about it, we already know what we're going to say. We're repeating knowledge we already know. Whereas if we listen, we're going to learn something new, aren't we? And often it's going to be really informative, especially if we become a good listener. Naturally, we don't want to be mixed up with somebody who wants to go on and on and on, because they're being disrespectful and they're lacking the knowledge or the concept of respect. So there's a happy medium, but I keep dropping the phone. Really, I've got to get into the habit. A selfie stick would be better. Listening more to each other, listening a lot more to each other. And it's easy to do, I guess. It's a lot easier to do if that person's interesting and thoughtful, courteous and respectful. And, it's not always the case, which goes back to the point of these videos. If we could all become more courteous, respectful and thoughtful of each other, well, we'd all be more wanting and willing to listen to each other, because we would all be respecting each other's thoughts and actions. And you see what I'm saying? The power of engagements like that would be amazing. And I suspect people who've gotten educations through university are having conversations like that. Come here, where are you going? Because they're, I'm suspecting that. And it would be probably true because of the education they get. University degrees are not just about the topic at hand, but you gather and learn other things from the educated teachers and from the other educated students with presumably, good skills in, good mental capacities at learning. So you'd imagine a university environment would be a great place. And then when that university environment's finished, keeping in contact with those people would be, quite stimulating, you'd imagine. Anyway, I'm getting off track. It's just important to make each other really feel heard and that they matter. I apologise for that ramble just before because it takes away from the time that I can only allow in the video. We're up to nearly 40 minutes. So, yeah, we've got to learn or get into the habit of making each other really feel heard and that they matter. And that they matter. And we can only do that by listening. All right? We've got to listen more and talk less. Okay? And, I've got to do that too, obviously. A lot of this is a reminder for me to get it out there and try and reinforce it in my own life by expressing my thoughts like this. And it's a technique they do use in university. By expressing your thoughts and writing them down in the essays and all that they get you to do, it helps concrete the concept in your brain. And I think that's another reason for these vlogs. Okay, next point. Another point, or another pathway, connected to the previous one, states listen more. Listen more. And an example, it's a political example. I used to go down to the botanical gardens, annoying the other campers because I was caught up in this 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. So going down and meeting some of the characters down there that are doing what I want to do was a form of release from work for me. And there was one particular bloke I used to go and chat to of an evening. And one evening, he was really good, but then one evening he started to get political. And he would know, he's old enough to know, and we all know, if you get political to somebody you're not aware of their political thoughts or opinions, it can lead to problems. Anyway, he started up, and it was about President Trump. He didn't know my thoughts. I like President Trump, as most of you know. But he started up, and it was based around hate? I can't remember. But it usually is. These characters start up about politics, whether it be Australian politics or American or any other kind of politics. That's what I really resent about people talking politics, is because 99% of the time it's based on hate and frustration. It's not based on respect for that democratically elected politician. So my brain shuts down because I don't want to listen to hate. Remember, we shouldn't really be involved in non-healthy or unhealthy and hateful topics. And I think this bloke it wasn't outright hate. Oh, she's been in the dirty water. Unbelievable. She's a dirty dog. Yeah, she knows. She's heard that name before. Anyway, it wasn't too hateful, so I listened, and I caught up with him at another time as well. Had it have been a real hateful spew, I would never have bothered to go and catch up with him again. But it was just his dislike, strong dislike. Anyway, I sat and listened. And I let him express himself. He was expressing himself and his thoughts. And I think I laughed, in a good, supportive way, because I was respecting his view on the topic. I don't know how often that happens. I think more often than not, the other party would start arguing back. And then you're in this silly argument over a democratically elected politician. And to me, that's pointless. It's pointless, and we're really only hurting each other over some bloke in another country, or even some bloke in this country running the show. We're going to start hating on each other because of that. All right, so what am I trying to say? Listen more, and we don't even have to respond with an opinion or a thought on it. We can just let them express themselves and be done. Throw in a little laugh if it's funny, and let them get it off their chest. That's a wonderful thing to do for somebody, and we're not letting that particular topic eat at us. We're staying disconnected from it. They still think good thoughts of us because we haven't argued or come back with a silly point and a big argument, which can get people riled up. Okay? We've just let them get it off their chest and express themselves as a man. I've allowed him to express himself fully on that particular topic, and he would have felt good about that, and I know he did, because he wanted me to catch up with him next time, and I'm moving here, he'd say, because they were starting to hassle him down there at the Botanical Gardens. Well, they weren't hassling him in particular, but there was just some dodgy characters getting around. I got some stories there. When I go camping, anybody who wants to go travelling around Australia, just be careful, because I did encounter a few queer characters at this one spot over time, and I encountered some lovely people too, but a tip on that is, if you ever go travelling around, my opinion is suss out their campsite before you engage with them. If their campsite looks like it's been set up by a mad person, or an unorganised person at the very least, be wary. You can tell a lot just by looking at somebody's camp spot or campsite or setup in general. I think that's based, and that comes from experience. Okay, so that's that, and we're recording. That's good. So I let him fully express himself on politics. I mean, I don't get too involved in politics anyway. Who gives a shit? We've got to get involved at my age. I should be involved to some degree, but I'm not going to get all riled up about the goings on of another country. America's politics does affect us, but either way, there's only so much my opinion matters, and my opinion doesn't matter in any way, shape or form anyway. It's only a social outlet and self-awareness for me. Anyway, I'm rambling a little. That's that point. I can't elaborate any more. I mean, I probably could, but there's only so much time on this video. Next point. I would strongly recommend anybody to go to Southeast Asia, and I'm sure there's other areas of the world that are maybe got similar concept that I'm going to explain to them, but I really am only familiar with Southeast Asia, and I'd strongly recommend an Australian going there, because I believe they have aspects to their culture that our culture's lacking. So if you go there and you absorb it and take it in, you bring some of that education and that awareness back with you to your own country, and you naturally then pass it on to other people that you encounter in your own country. I believe that's what's happening with me. To be honest, maybe that's what's given birth to the pathways to contentment, because I only came up with them, I think, after I started going to Southeast Asia, and I'm only realising that now, if that's true, and I think it might be, So isn't that amazing? for me to go to another country. Southeast Asia is a group of countries there in the southeast of Asia. Asia is a big place. You've got China, Russia's considered Asia, India is considered Asia. I'm talking about Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, those places. I really believe my awareness, nobody said anything to me, it was just the way I was treated, yes, as a tourist, but also just as a person on the street. I really believe the concept of respect and courtesy, decency, thoughtfulness, and welcoming to others dawned on me. You know, I really believe it started to dawn on me because it's what I was experiencing. I was obviously experiencing it in an obvious way. It was in my face when I went to Southeast Asia. So if you want to tune up your concepts in regards to respecting each other and yourself, because I'm trying to get off the grog now too. And I've even found when I've gone to Southeast Asia, I didn't particularly want to drink sometimes when I was there on some of my visits. It's supposed to be the opposite of that, so I don't know why that happened, but anyway, if you want to tune up on your respect of each other and your respect of yourself and your courtesy and your decency and your thoughtfulness and your welcoming to others and your general contentment in life, I believe a visit to Southeast Asia with an attitude of learning from the people there, because that's important. That was my attitude. My attitude was to learn cooking, to take in the wildlife and the plants and the differences that they have. So if you go with an attitude to do that, which I assume most people do, or a lot of people might just go there for a cheap holiday to hang out by the beach, possibly. But my attitude was to go there to learn and to take in another culture, because to me, going to another country is the same as going to another planet. Everything is different, from the wildlife to the trees, to the food, to the money people use, to the way people look, the weather, the topography of the country, the sea life can be more abundant, especially in places like the Philippines. It's a scuba diving mecca. My brother and I do scuba diving when we go over there. So I really strongly recommend, if anybody wants to get the gist of what respect and courtesy and decency and thoughtfulness and a welcoming attitude towards others really means, to try and scratch the surface of those things, I'd recommend a holiday there with a mindset and an attitude of learning and taking in the culture. Somebody trying to call me, I'll just decline that. So that's that point. How are we going for time? Wow, 50 minutes. Okay, next point. I don't know if I should go over. I'll push it to an hour, I guess. These ones should do that. Or should I leave it? I might leave it. Oh, okay, I'll finish on one more point. And that is, we need to pat ourselves on the back more than what we do, on more of a regular basis. I mean, I'm not doing it at all. I'm starting to introduce the concept of patting myself on the back. Maybe some people do. You know, the hello, how are you? Just talking to myself here. We need to pat ourselves on the back more than what we do. I don't normally do it, but I'm sure there's some people, maybe the really confident people out there, maybe they're the ones that are getting around patting themselves on the back. That was a bit embarrassing. I'm here talking to myself and somebody walks by. Anyway, we're going to start doing that more. If you don't do that, you need to start doing it. Look in the mirror. You know, they say look in the mirror and tell yourself you're good. I haven't done that, but I should start doing that. But I am trying to say to myself and remind myself of where I am, what I've done, you know, all my life, all the work that we've all done that's now a forgotten memory. Try and bring it back, and let's Let's remind ourselves of the hard work that we've done in our lives and the results that that's brought. Because, that's like rewarding ourselves, giving ourselves a little reward, isn't it? Regularly. And that's going to, I'd say what that's going to do is that's going to build our confidence. Because you know what? In my circles, I can't rely on other people building my confidence. I've come to realise that now. I've got to start building my own confidence in a healthy, factual, productive way. And that's what that pathway is saying. Pat ourselves on the back more with reflection of our achievements, whatever they are. If we've gotten this far in life, we've done good things, haven't we? That's to be congratulated, that's to be celebrated, and that's to be remembered, to be celebrated, and celebrated. So that's that. Oh, I might as well do the next two. I'll do the next one. Another point is to encourage contentment in our life. Another point I've got here is to buy that car or that boat that you've always wanted. I've spent my whole life never doing that, just battling by with the basic car, no boat. I'd love a boat. But I was driving the nice car that I've bought recently, and I'm just driving around with this smile all day, feeling like, a champion. So it's really a great place to put yourself in if you can reach for a nice car. It doesn't have to be, I'm not necessarily talking about a brand new expensive car. Ideally, you don't want to go and buy a brand new car that's going to lose value. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I'm not recommending that. The car I've bought, if anything, should maintain value. It should maintain value, even in regards to inflation. It should maintain its value. So I've bought it, and it's insured, and I just love driving around in it. I've actually wanted one for 20 years or more, and I finally bought it, and it feels good. It feels so good. I feel when I get in it, even when I look at this thing, I feel like a champion. It's a unique experience and feeling to me. I've never experienced that, really. I mean, I have to some degrees with other cars, but this thing's really over the top in my mind, and it's a completely elevated, euphoric feeling that it gives me to own this thing, to look at this thing, and to drive this thing. So I strongly recommend treating yourself to something like that as a pathway to contentment in life, if you feel you deserve it. And I do deserve it. It's easy to get into the habit of, I'll carry on, going without. Meanwhile, you're getting older and older and older. I'm 55. I'm sick of going without. I want some stuff now. And I'm starting to reach out and grab it. I mean, I can always sell the car if things get hard. But at the moment, I'm enjoying it. I've got to try and even up my face when I speak, because one side droops and the other one's lifting up. So when I speak and smile, I've got to try and even that out, I think. Anyway, so that's that. Reach out and grab that material possession that you've always wanted and see if it'll help bring you happiness. I don't think happiness is one big thing. It's all these little things, all these little pathways that I've spelled out in different episodes that accumulate to a daily contentment, in my opinion anyway. The last point in this episode is, don't lie in life. If we tend to tell little lies all the time, why are we doing that? It's just a habit we're in. An example I'll give is, and I think lying can rob us of contentment and happiness, because we know we haven't been truthful about certain things. I mean, a lie to save somebody's face or to help them with their confidence is okay, but just general lying or or deceiving, lying is a bad place to be, and you don't want to be there. It's going to rob you of a wholesome mindset and a happy life, I think. Every time you lie, I think you're robbing yourself. An example I'll give is, on the way back from Bali, I had 5 pouches of tobacco, because I'm a smoker. Well, I used to be, and I appreciate tobacco. And a carton of cigarettes, quality brand, and they were presents for people. And you know, as you're coming through, they give you the little form to say, have you been anywhere with your boots, wilderness areas and stuff? And I assume, well, I didn't know at the time actually, but you know, potentially they're going to pull you up and say, oh, you've been there, where was it, and question you. Anyway, on the little label, if I wanted to be completely safe and avoid any problems, I would have said, no, I haven't been anywhere. But the truth was, I had been somewhere. I'd been to that turtle sanctuary in Bali that I put on Facebook. So I wrote that down. And then coming through customs, because I'd ticked the box, yes, I've been somewhere, a wilderness area, they pulled me aside. And it was right where they have the benches laid out, where they pull people's crap out of their bags and go through their bags, I assume. So here I was, because I was telling the truth, now put myself in a vulnerable situation for the tobacco to be found, and I presume a big fine. But to me, whether or not I'm bringing back toxic weeds and stuff to my own country is more important than whether or not I get done for illegal tobacco. You know, like I said, when I filled out the form, I didn't consciously register all these steps would happen, but I probably would have suspected I was drawing attention to myself. Well, I would have suspected, naturally, but I was blinded by, presumably, just wanting to be truthful, especially about a situation as serious as that. Anyway, they pulled me aside, asked to look at my shoes, and let me go without going through my bags. So there you go. The truth prevailed, and I was happy about that. You know, just it's the right, like the first point I brought out in this episode, pursuing the right. One of the pathways was we should be daily pursuing the good, fairness, the right, improvement, or daily pursuing good, fairness, right, improvement. And that was an example of that. All right, so that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening if anybody did. You know, it's good. But whether anybody does or not, I've expressed myself here, and I'm going to put the link down below of where the other videos are on YouTube. It's just a nice thing to do, to express ourselves, especially for us men. So long as it doesn't involve hate and unhealthy actions and words, okay? Self-expression's a wonderful thing that we can start taking on step by step, little bit by little bit. My photos are another example of me expressing myself. My guitar's another one. You know, just having a little go. It's good fun, all right? Okay, so that's it, everyone. Have a fantastic day. And I look forward to getting another one put together to share here sometime in the future. Okay, peace out. Love you all. No, what did I do? I put my finger over that. It went red. And then I went